Life is the present moment. Only the present is life. If we are not present, we look without seeing, listen without hearing, eat without tasting. Dwelling in the present moment is the only way to truly develop peace within ourselves and in the world. Mindfulness can free us from anxieties and worries. Instead of clinging to the past or the future, we can learn to live in the present moment. Do not worry about the tasks you need to accomplish. Do not think about getting up or leaving to do something. Do not think about leaving where you are. Stay here and now. If you are stressed, you think so much about the future that the present is reduced to a means to get there, and you treat the current moment as an obstacle that needs to be overcome. Know that stress arises when we are in the present but wish to be in the future. This creates an internal division. Living with this division is insane. The fact that everyone acts this way does not make anyone less insane. Since the future never arrives, this way of living is pointless, causing a constant feeling of discomfort, tension, and dissatisfaction. We must exercise this practice of alerting the mind, the practice of mindfulness. An alert mind frees us from forgetfulness and dispersion, enabling us to fully live each present moment. For this, we need to use breathing, a natural and extremely important instrument to prevent dispersion. Breathing is the link that connects consciousness to life, that unites the body to the mind. To keep the mind alert for a long time, it is necessary to observe breathing for an equivalent amount of time. Whenever your mind starts to wander, use your breathing to regain control. Inhale lightly and slowly, aware that you are inhaling. Then exhale, equally aware that you are exhaling. Always be aware that you are inhaling and exhaling. Having control of your breath is having control over your body and mind. Whenever we feel out of control, we should use the method of observing our breath to recover. Measuring, following, and controlling the breath are powerful tools that enable us to control the mind. And to gain control of the mind and calm it, we must also be alert to our feelings and perceptions, observing and recognizing each feeling or thought that arises. Sensations and feelings come and go like clouds in a turbulent sky. Conscious breathing is our anchor. If the practitioner is able to see clearly how their mind works, they can achieve results with little effort. Otherwise, all their effort will be wasted. There is only one way to know the mind, to observe and recognize everything about it. And this must be done all the time, not just during meditation moments, but also in daily life. If each person meditates for an hour a day, that's good, but in fact, this time is still insufficient. One must practice meditation while walking, standing, sitting, lying down, working, running, talking with friends, whatever one is doing. Chopping wood is meditating. Carrying water is meditating. Keep the mind alert 24 hours a day, not just during formal meditation hours, reading sacred texts, or praying. An alert mind means being awake to the present reality, to the here and now. The mind is inevitably dragged by thoughts, so if someone wants to keep their mind alert, they must be attentive not only during meditation periods but also in their daily routine. Each of us already possesses the seed of mindfulness. The mind must be alert in every act. Walking, the practitioner must be aware that they are walking. Sitting, they must be aware that they are sitting. Lying down, they must be aware that they are lying down. The practitioner must be aware of any position of their body. We must be aware of each breath, each movement, each thought and feeling, of anything related to us. How can we, busy with so much work, engage in the practice of mindfulness? The answer is, fully focus your attention on the work you are doing, constantly being ready to skillfully and intelligently control any situation that arises. This is alerting the mind. An alert mind is nothing more than having all your attention focused on the action you are doing, being able to use your full discernment. For example, while you are walking towards the city, you can exercise the practice of mindfulness. With an alert mind, it will vividly experience walking along the path that is leading to the city. Mechanical thinking is the opposite of an alert mind. If we are truly alert while walking, we will consider the act of each step as an infinite wonder, and a joy will blossom in our hearts like a flower, allowing us to enter the world of reality. When the mind has gained control of itself, when it no longer feeds on illusions, it will become the true mind. The true mind is our true self, the absolute unity that cannot be divided by the illusory separateness of things, created by concepts and language. Generally, people consider it a miracle to walk on water or in the air. But I think the real miracle is to walk on earth. Every day we are participating in a miracle that we do not have the capacity to recognize. Everything is a miracle. Nothing is more precious than being in the present moment. Totally alive, totally conscious. Here and now. Living in the past or the future can trap us, causing worries and robbing us of the value of the present. Mindfulness, or focusing on the present moment, is the key to a healthier life with less anxiety and greater resilience to stress. Limiting technology use, meditating, and observing nature are helpful ways to cultivate mindfulness. Flow is an absorbing and rewarding experience that happens when we are fully engaged in an activity. Controlling our attention, adopting new perspectives, recognizing flow, and transforming routine tasks can help us experience this sensation more frequently in our daily lives. Finding a balance between challenge and our abilities is crucial to enjoying these moments. Additionally, limiting technology use is crucial to reducing distractions and stress in our lives. Monitoring and setting limits on technology use can help us stay more present, aware, and in control of our lives. Observing nature is a simple and effective way to cultivate mindfulness. Admiring its beauty can awaken feelings of joy and peace, reducing stress and the sense of isolation. By practicing nature observation, we can learn to appreciate the small details around us and value the present moment. Remember that the present moment is all we have, and by fully valuing it, we can achieve greater awareness and a deeper connection with ourselves and others. Commit to staying present, cultivating mindfulness in all aspects of your life. By doing so, you will discover a new perspective on life, filled with meaning and satisfaction. Live each moment as if it were the most valuable because it is the only moment that truly matters. The world we live in is full of distractions and constant demands that can cause us to lose focus on the present moment. The incessant noise of technology, social pressures, and expectations imposed on us often prevent us from fully experiencing the now. It is essential, therefore, to find ways to disconnect from this frenzy and rediscover the beauty of the present. To develop a mindful attitude, it is important to recognize that the past and the future are mere mental concepts. They do not exist in the present moment, and by clinging to them, we deprive ourselves of the richness of the present experience. We must remember that each moment is unique and irreplaceable, and only through full immersion in it can we extract its true meaning. Being present does not mean avoiding planning or reflecting on the future. It is essential to balance contemplation of tomorrow with immersion in today. Another crucial aspect is learning to really listen to others. Often, while someone is talking to us, our minds are already formulating responses or judgments before we even hear what they are really saying. The practice of active listening involves being fully present for the person we are interacting with, showing genuine empathy and understanding. Strive so that, When you are in a social interaction, your mind can be empty to the point of being free of thoughts outside of what is being said in the interaction. Often, we are too hard on ourselves, judging ourselves harshly for our failures and imperfections. With self-compassion, we allow ourselves to be human, accepting our weaknesses and forgiving ourselves for our mistakes. This allows us to live the present with more lightness and compassion. It is essential to accept that the human mind is naturally prone to wander. Instead of constantly fighting against arising thoughts, we can try to observe them without judgment and gently redirect our attention to the present moment. It's not about eliminating thoughts but developing the ability to choose where we place our attention. Frequently, our thoughts and beliefs create false impressions that obscure our perception of reality. What if we realize that what we remember and imagine is not authentic but a product of our mind's creation? Our minds tend to create a subjective reality, filled with thoughts, memories, and imaginations. However, none of these things are real, they are merely constructs of our mind's attempt to make sense of the world. To truly understand our true nature, we must free ourselves from these illusions and be present in the moment. The past and future are not real, they are just fragments of our imagination. The present moment is the only thing that exists, and it is in this moment that we can experience the essence of who we really are. Being our authentic selves requires no effort, as it is our innate state of being. We need to abandon the mind's illusions and accept the beauty and tranquility of reality. Often, we get so caught up in our thoughts and mental constructions that we lose touch with what is truly true. Our thoughts about the past, present, and future are not authentic, they are just mental constructions. To understand our true nature, we need to abandon these thoughts and exist in the present moment. The mind creates illusions of the past and the future, but in reality, only the present moment exists. Memories are just imagined experiences, and the future is merely a mental construct. It's easy for our imagination to deceive us and blind us from reality. To truly experience our authentic self, we must recognize that no word, concept, or thought can define what is real. We are not merely a body or mind but consciousness and perception. The past and future are illusions, while the present is the only reality. It is up to us to decide whether we choose to live in the mind's reality, where suffering and illusion seem to exist, or in the heaven where we experience peace, joy, and unconditional love. In heaven, external circumstances have no power over our experience, and the mind's illusions have no influence. The key is to experience the truth of what we are, not try to understand it intellectually. Time and mind are intertwined. If time is removed from the mind, it ceases to exist unless you choose to use it. Identifying with the mind means being trapped in time, concerned with memories and future possibilities. This creates a lack of recognition and respect for the present moment. However, the compulsion arises because the past gives us an identity, and the future holds the promise of fulfillment, both being mere illusions. Although time may seem precious, it is actually an illusion. The most precious thing is the present moment, which is beyond time. When we focus on time, we lose the present moment, which is the only constant factor in our lives. The present moment is the only thing that exists, it is the space where our entire life unfolds. It is also the only point that can take us beyond the mind's limitations and into the timeless realm of being. Therefore, we must learn to use time wisely and focus on being present in the now. The past shapes our identities and influences how we perceive and act in the present, while our future goals inform the actions we take now. However, trying to understand this intellectually is not enough, it must be experienced directly. The past and future are mere reflections of the eternal present, just as the moon reflects the light of the sun. Memories of the past are just reactivations of moments that were once present, while thoughts about the future are projections of the mind. The essence of this truth cannot be understood by the mind. It requires a shift in consciousness, from the mind to being, from time to presence. Once you experience this shift, you will feel a sense of vitality and energy radiating from within you. Take a moment to listen and perceive the profound truth of existence. The truth is that the present moment is all that exists, and the past and future are merely illusions created by the mind. Understanding this truth can help you experience life in a much more meaningful way. By focusing on what is real in the present moment, you can let go of all the stories and beliefs your mind has created and start experiencing your true self. When you are fully present, you are aware of everything that is happening around you. You do not need to imagine or think about anything, you can simply be. You can feel, see, hear, and touch everything in the moment, allowing you to experience life as it is, without judgment or interpretation. Being present allows you to perceive the truth and recognize the illusions created by the mind. The reality of the mind leads to a constant search for happiness, but it remains unattainable. It creates the belief that something is missing, but that thing is not real. The reality of the mind also causes an attempt to escape the present moment, which is the only moment that exists. Living in the truth means realizing that you are already complete and whole and that there is nothing you need to seek outside yourself. This understanding allows you to experience life with a sense of peace, joy, and unconditional love. You see the world from a different perspective, and your experiences become richer and more rewarding as a result. Our constant concern with the past and the future is futile, as thoughts are mere illusions. To understand our true nature, we must recognize that no thought, concept, or word can bring us closer to the truth of who we are. Our true self is present here and now, beyond the limitations of body and mind. Consider the concept of the past. If we can understand this, it can transform our lives. The past is merely a mental construct and does not actually exist. Even memories are creations of the mind, which are essentially imagined. Only the present moment is real, and if we observe around us, we will discover that memories are nowhere to be found. The same is true for the future, which is nothing more than a mental projection. Our mental stories and projections of the future have no reality, as we never experience the future as it is always now. We have two choices of reality, one where we live in the illusions of the mind and suffer from delusion and a false sense of self, or another where we live in a heavenly state of knowing that we are everything and experience peace, joy, and unconditional love. It is important to realize that our external world has no power over our experience, as everything happens within us, not to us. The only true moment is the present, and the illusions of the past and the future have no influence over our energy. It is time to awaken to the truth of our consciousness and experience the indescribable beauty within us. The key to understanding this truth lies in the present moment. By accepting and embracing this idea, we can overcome the illusions of the past and future and access the richness of life that exists in the present moment. Being present, we can fully experience life as it is, without being hindered by the mental constructs that obscure our perception. Finding inner peace, joy, and unconditional love while seeing the world in a new and rewarding way is possible by living in this truth. Therefore, let us embrace this truth and remain present in every moment of our lives. When the now becomes the focus of your life, everything flows more easily. Paying attention to the present moment creates a state of alertness, as if you were waking up from a dream, the dream of thought, the dream of the past and future. In this state, there is no space to create problems, there is only this moment as it is. Surrender to the now. When you dive into the present moment, you transcend the content of your mind. That incessant flow of thoughts calms down and does not consume all your attention. Then a precious interval arises between them, a space of silence and tranquility. You begin to realize that your being is greater and deeper than your thoughts. In the rush of everyday life, we all think too much, desire too much, seek too much, and forget to simply appreciate being, to feel life pulsing in our bodies. This recognition arises when you root yourself in the now. The present moment is as it is, always has been, and always will be, because it cannot be otherwise. Focus your attention on the now, and you will see that life is sacred. There is something profoundly sacred in everything you perceive when you concentrate on the present. The division of life into past, present, and future is a construction of the mind and ultimately illusory. The past can only be remembered now, and the future, when it arrives, will be now. Therefore, the only real thing, the only thing that always exists, is the now. The experience we always have is of the present moment and the best that occurs within it. If we rely only on direct evidence, then time does not exist. The now is all that exists, always and only. When we resist what is happening, we become subject to events, and the world begins to determine our happiness or unhappiness. Creating internal resistance to what already is would be insane. What could be more insane than opposing life? The now is and always will be. Surrender wherever you are, be fully present. If you believe that here and now are intolerable and bring you unhappiness, you have three options: withdraw from the situation, change the situation, or accept it fully. If you want to be responsible for your life, you must choose one of these three options, and you must choose now. Accept the consequences. As long as you do not take responsibility for this exact moment, the now, you are not taking any responsibility for your life. Taking responsibility for the present moment is being in harmony with life. Complaining is always a non-acceptance of what is. When you complain, you become a victim. So, change the situation, take some action, leave it, or accept it fully. Anything else is likely a form of madness, a victim trap. If there is no action you can take and you also cannot leave the situation, then dive even deeper into surrender, deeper into the now, deeper into being. When you enter this timeless dimension of the present, change often happens in unexpected ways, without the need for significant actions on your part, and then life becomes favorable. Internal factors such as fear, guilt, and inertia that prevented you from acting dissolve in the light of your conscious presence. By surrendering and directing your attention inward, check for any trace of resistance within you. This is a simple but profoundly radical exercise. It consists of accepting what arises in the now, both internally and externally. This surrender brings simple yet profound wisdom. We do not oppose the flow of life. The only place where we can truly feel the flow of life is in the now. Surrender means accepting the present moment without reservations. It is letting go of internal resistance to what is. Internal resistance occurs when we say no to what is through our mental judgment and emotional negativity. This is especially sacred when things are not going well. What this means is that there is a space between the rigid demands or expectations of our mind and reality as it is. This space is the space of suffering. If you have lived long enough, you surely know that things often do not go as planned. It is precisely in these moments that surrender must be practiced if we want to eliminate suffering and sadness from our lives. Accept whatever the present moment contains. Accept it as if you had chosen it. This acceptance of what is immediately frees us from identification with the mind and reconnects us with being. Surrendering to existence is a purely internal phenomenon. Notice how the mind classifies this moment and how this process of classification, this constant judgment, creates unhappiness. By observing the mechanisms of the mind, you distance yourself from its resistance patterns and can then allow the present moment to be. This will give you a glimpse of an inner state free from external conditions, a state of true and profound peace. This exact moment, now, is the only thing from which you can never escape, the only constant factor in your life. Whatever happens, no matter how much your life changes, one thing is certain, it is always now. If you cannot escape the now, embrace it and treat it well. The more you surrender and live in the now, the more you will feel the simple and profound joy of being and the sacredness of life. Align yourself with the now, always. Work with it, not against it. Make it a friend and ally, not an enemy, and miraculously, it will transform your entire life. There is untapped power in the simple act of breathing, of feeling the air entering and leaving your lungs. This reconnects you to the now, to the essence of life. Breathing can be your anchor, bringing you back to the present moment, to the here and now, where life truly happens. Breathe deeply, feel that you are here and that this is what really matters. Remember that each breath is a new opportunity to start over. You do not need to wait for a new day, a new week, or a new year to change the course of your life. Each present moment carries the seed of renewal and rebirth. Embrace this truth with courage and let it guide your actions. Allow yourself to be fluid, adaptable, open to the change and transformation that the now offers. Life, in its essence, is made of moments, some light, others challenging. Accepting this without resistance, embracing each experience with gratitude, is to embrace the totality of your being and existence. Be present for the small miracles of everyday life, a child's smile, the glow of the sunset, the smell of wet earth after the rain. These are reminders that, despite all our pursuits and yearnings, the beauty of life unfolds in simple gestures, in fleeting moments that often go unnoticed. To achieve happiness, the secret is simple: forget yourself. However, the more you try to get rid of your own shadow, the more it seems to cling to you. If you seek to escape pain, you will realize that in the attempt to flee, the agony only intensifies. Fear paralyzes you, and the desire for courage turns into fear itself. Trying to escape your essence puts you in a vicious cycle, especially in the form of constant worry. We recognize the futility of worry, but we continue to sink into it, because acknowledging its uselessness is not enough to free us. Understanding that there is no true security is the first step to freedom. We strive incessantly to preserve the past or anxiously throw ourselves into the future, but we forget a fundamental truth: only the present exists. The future is an illusion. Tomorrow is a promise that never materializes because time lives in the eternal now. When we silence our internal dialogues and cease the whirlwind of thoughts, we discover the beauty of the present, an eternal now that seeks no place, has no destination or permanence, but is the stage of our entire existence. When we turn inward, seeking the self that knows this moment, we find that it is like the past, fleeting and unreachable. You and I are as much a part of the physical universe as a wave is part of the ocean. It should be obvious that seeking security in a constantly changing universe is a paradox. Security, in fact, means isolation, but it is the feeling of isolation that makes us feel lonely and afraid. The desire for security and the feeling of insecurity are two sides of the same coin. Understanding this frees us from the illusion that we can control the uncontrollable. True security comes from recognizing that, deep down, we seek to secure something eternal within us, but in striving for this permanence, we confront the reality that the core we try to protect may not be as concrete as we imagine. The understanding that there is no absolute security is only achieved when we realize that the self is a construction, an illusion. By becoming aware of the present, we realize that experience is all that exists. There is no self separate from the experience, there is no moment beyond the now. Listening to music, feeling joy or fear requires full and undivided attention. When we label these experiences, we lose the essence of the experience. Fear, pain, sadness become insoluble problems when we do not understand them in their entirety. True understanding requires a unified and undivided mind. To escape the heat of suffering, we must dive into the center of the flames. Likewise, the way out of our personal lies in directly confronting our fears, our pains. Running from fear perpetuates fear, fighting pain intensifies pain. The attempt to be brave is, in fact, a form of fear. We do not oppose the flow of life. The only place where we can truly feel the flow of life is in the now. Surrender means accepting the present moment without reservations. It is letting go of internal resistance to what is. Internal resistance occurs when we say no to what is through our mental judgment and emotional negativity. This is especially sacred when things are not going well. What this means is that there is a space between the rigid demands or expectations of our mind and reality as it is. This space is the space of suffering. If you have lived long enough, you surely know that things often do not go as planned. It is precisely in these moments that surrender must be practiced if we want to eliminate suffering and sadness from our lives. Accept whatever the present moment contains. Accept it as if you had chosen it. This acceptance of what is immediately frees us from identification with the mind and reconnects us with being. Surrendering to existence is a purely internal phenomenon. Notice how the mind classifies this moment and how this process of classification, this constant judgment, creates unhappiness. By observing the mechanisms of the mind, you distance yourself from its resistance patterns and can then allow the present moment to be. This will give you a glimpse of an inner state free from external conditions, a state of true and profound peace. This exact moment, now, is the only thing from which you can never escape, the only constant factor in your life. Whatever happens, no matter how much your life changes, one thing is certain, it is always now. If you cannot escape the now, embrace it and treat it well. The more you surrender and live in the now, the more you will feel the simple and profound joy of being and the sacredness of life. Align yourself with the now, always. Work with it, not against it. Make it a friend and an ally, not an enemy, and miraculously, it will transform your entire life. There is untapped power in the simple act of breathing, of feeling the air entering and leaving your lungs. This reconnects you to the now, to the essence of life. Breathing can be your anchor, bringing you back to the present moment, to the here and now, where life truly happens. Breathe deeply, feel that you are here and that this is what really matters. Remember that each breath is a new opportunity to start over. You do not need to wait for a new day, a new week, or a new year to change the course of your life. Each present moment carries the seed of renewal and rebirth. Embrace this truth with courage and let it guide your actions. Allow yourself to be fluid, adaptable, open to the change and transformation that the now offers. Life, in its essence, is made of moments, some light, others challenging. Accepting this without resistance, embracing each experience with gratitude, is to embrace the totality of your being and existence. Be present for the small miracles of everyday life, a child's smile, the glow of the sunset, the smell of wet earth after the rain. These are reminders that, despite all our pursuits and yearnings, the beauty of life unfolds in simple gestures, in fleeting moments that often go unnoticed. To achieve happiness, the secret is simple: forget yourself. However, the more you try to get rid of your own shadow, the more it seems to cling to you. If you seek to escape pain, you will realize that in the attempt to flee, the agony only intensifies. Fear paralyzes you, and the desire for courage turns into fear itself. Trying to escape your essence puts you in a vicious cycle, especially in the form of constant worry. We recognize the futility of worry, but we continue to sink into it, because acknowledging its uselessness is not enough to free us. Understanding that there is no true security is the first step to freedom. We strive incessantly to preserve the past or anxiously throw ourselves into the future, but we forget a fundamental truth: only the present exists. The future is an illusion. Tomorrow is a promise that never materializes because time lives in the eternal now. When we silence our internal dialogues and cease the whirlwind of thoughts, we discover the beauty of the present, an eternal now that seeks no place, has no destination or permanence, but is the stage of our entire existence. When we turn inward, seeking the self that knows this moment, we find that it is like the past, fleeting and unreachable. You and I are as much a part of the physical universe as a wave is part of the ocean. It should be obvious that seeking security in a constantly changing universe is a paradox. Security, in fact, means isolation, but it is the feeling of isolation that makes us feel lonely and afraid. The desire for security and the feeling of insecurity are two sides of the same coin. Understanding this frees us from the illusion that we can control the uncontrollable. True security comes from recognizing that, deep down, we seek to secure something eternal within us, but in striving for this permanence, we confront the reality that the core we try to protect may not be as concrete as we imagine. The understanding that there is no absolute security is only achieved when we realize that the self is a construction, an illusion. By becoming aware of the present, we realize that experience is all that exists. There is no self separate from the experience, there is no moment beyond the now. Listening to music, feeling joy or fear requires full and undivided attention. When we label these experiences, we lose the essence of the experience. Fear, pain, sadness become insoluble problems when we do not understand them in their entirety. True understanding requires a unified and undivided mind. To escape the heat of suffering, we must dive into the center of the flames. Likewise, the way out of our personal lies in directly confronting our fears, our pains. Running from fear perpetuates fear, fighting pain intensifies pain. The attempt to be brave is, in fact, a form of fear. When we accept that there is no escape from pain, that the mind and pain are inseparable, we begin to live consciously. This acceptance does not require someone to feel or resist, it is simply being present in the experience. True freedom is understood when we realize that the thinker and the thought are one. There is no separation between the human being and the world, between the self and the experience. This understanding dissipates conflict, tension, and frustration, recognizing that the mind and the world are inseparable. Life flows in harmony, internal division ceases, and each moment is fully experienced, bringing a sense of completeness and fulfillment. Living fully in the now teaches us to savor each experience, whether of pleasure or pain. This understanding reveals the purpose of our existence, the reason why the universe brought us to consciousness. All creation, all space, time, and change exist for this moment. Life does not need future justification, it justifies itself in the now. Understanding that the dance of life does not aim to reach a final destination liberates us. We do not play a symphony to reach the last note, we play to live each note, each movement. The mind that seeks to escape itself, that drowns in its own turbulence, suffers unnecessarily. By understanding that we are not separate from our experience, that the human being and the present moment are one, confusion and turmoil are transcended. Sanity and integration arise from the understanding that division is an illusion. Being fully aware of the now is the only reality. Everything else is trying to reach the unreachable. You are an integral part of the cosmos, a wave in the ocean of existence. The security, happiness, and peace you seek are within you, in the warm embrace of the present. Accept this invitation to dance to the rhythm of the now and discover the freedom that comes from freeing yourself from the shackles of the past and the anxieties about the future. Face each moment with the full awareness that you are an inseparable part of this vast and mysterious universe. There is no separation between you and the present moment, you are an entity experiencing the dance of existence. Allow yourself to be carried by the current of life without resistance. Find comfort in the unknown, knowing that each uncertain step is part of a larger choreography that you are destined to perform. Confront your fears with the certainty that they are mere spectators of your journey, they have no power to stop your progress unless you grant them that power. When worry knocks at your door, remember that it is a visitor that does not need to be invited in. Acknowledge its presence, but do not allow it to take up the sacred space of your inner peace. Imagine yourself as a leaf carried by the river of life. Sometimes the river may seem turbulent, other times calm, but the leaf continues its journey, confident in the current that carries it. Often we find ourselves lost in a sea of thoughts in an endless quest for more, forgetting the simplicity and joy of simply existing. Understand, with all your being, that the present is the only time we truly possess. Make this moment, the now, the central axis of your existence. The next time you move from one point to another, challenge yourself to observe and listen to everything around you without judging or overthinking. Free yourself from the need to name each experience and catalog everything you perceive. Instead, just see and listen. Yes, it is possible to break the habit of constantly labeling and judging the world around us. When we accept what is, we access a deeper layer of ourselves. In this state, our inner peace no longer depends on mental evaluations of what is good or bad. Saying yes to what life presents, accepting the present moment as it is, leads us to experience profound inner peace. This moment, the now, has always been and always will be complete in itself. Suffering and sadness arise from the belief that all thoughts crossing our minds are indisputable truths. It is not the situations themselves that generate unhappiness but our thoughts about these situations. It is the internal dialogue, the stories we tell ourselves, that plunge us into dissatisfaction. Recognizing yourself as the being beyond thoughts, the silence that prevails despite the mental noise, is the first step towards freedom, salvation, enlightenment. The ego often deceives us, seeking energy outside of us, ignoring that the true source of strength resides within each one of us. By freeing yourself from excessive thinking, you will see life transform. By letting go of the compulsion to label every aspect of existence, you open yourself to the present moment in a new way, allowing presence to take the place of the conceptual constructs of the self. Simplicity becomes the norm, and the need to be special disappears, giving way to authenticity. The true essence of meditation lies in stillness, in the ability to perceive the spaces between words. One of the most valuable achievements in life is the ability to remain silent. This silence is the full presence of an attentive being who sees and hears without needing to add anything more. This practice awakens the true intelligence within you, one that is not disturbed by external chaos. Let your inner calm be the light that guides your words and actions. When we surrender to silence, we reconnect with who we were before assuming this physical and mental form we call a person. Curiously, it is who we will continue to be even when this physical form dissolves. Acceptance and surrender become naturally easier when you realize that all experiences are transitory and that nothing in this world can offer you something of eternal value. By accepting and surrendering, you do not stop meeting people, engaging in experiences and activities, but you do so without the desires and fears of the self-centered ego. You learn not to demand that situations, people, or places fulfill your needs or bring you happiness. By accepting the inherent imperfection in everything, paradoxically, you find that everything becomes more satisfying, harmonious, and peaceful. There are moments when no answer or explanation seems sufficient. Life, at certain times, may seem meaningless, or you may find yourself in situations where someone desperately seeks your help and you feel unable to offer any solution. In these moments, fully accepting that you do not have all the answers allows you to let go of the internal struggle. This opens space for a greater intelligence, which flows beyond limited thought, to inspire and guide your actions and words. Being at peace with the unknown is essential to receiving answers and insights. When you cease internal resistance, you allow a consciousness free from conditioning, infinitely greater than the human mind, to express itself through you. Thus, when we stop resisting, we often find that things begin to improve, almost as if by magic. Right action emerges from a state of right consciousness. For this to happen, it is essential to set the ego aside. Recognizing yourself as something beyond form, be it thought or emotion, and seeing yourself as the space of consciousness allows for profound transformation. Now, observe this exact moment. Notice how the mind rushes to judge, categorize, and how this constant judgment is the source of much pain and unhappiness. By observing the mind in action, you distance yourself from habitual patterns of resistance, allowing the present moment to simply be. This offers a glimpse of an inner state free from external conditions, a state of true and profound peace. Accept this moment exactly as it is. Surrender to it, not to a narrative you create in your mind. Surrendering is renouncing the desire to understand everything and being at peace with not knowing. This surrender profoundly alters the perception you have of yourself. The self ceases to identify with mental reactions and judgments, transforming into a space around them. Open yourself to this consciousness free from conditioning. Maintain inner calm, then allow life to flow freely and effortlessly. You, as a being endowed with rich inner life, have the ability to face any challenge that comes your way. Remember that each obstacle carries with it a lesson, an invitation to overcome and to personal growth. See each difficulty as an opportunity to strengthen your resilience and expand your understanding of yourself and the world around you. The now is the only moment we truly have at our disposal. Attachment to the past or worries about the future are common sources of dissatisfaction and anxiety. By centering your attention in the present, you embrace life as it presents itself, free from expectations and prejudices. This is the key to unlocking a fuller and more meaningful existence. Ask yourself deep questions, ones that invite introspection and exploration of deeper layers of your consciousness. In this space of inquiry, we often find clarity, direction, and a sense of purpose that transcends the superficialities of everyday life. You are a being of light, capable of transcending the limitations imposed by the mind and the ego. By focusing on the present, embracing inner stillness, and cultivating an attitude of openness and acceptance, you align with the flow of life, finding peace and contentment in the simplest manifestations of existence. The essence of meditation is continuous mindfulness, an uninterrupted vigilance of the processes of the body, feelings, mind, and mental objects. Continuity is the secret of success. The meditator must strive to remain attentive, night and day, at every moment, and thus, he can quickly develop concentration and wisdom. The type of concentration referred to in the Eightfold Path as right concentration or perfect concentration is the concentration developed from moment to moment. Only moment-to-moment concentration, following the path of mindfulness, leads to the destruction of impurities. The essential thing is that the meditator maintains continuous mindfulness of sensations and sustains this attention in all postures. Concentrated on sensation, contact, and awareness, from moment to moment. While standing, the meditator should be attentive to the sensation resulting from the contact of the feet with the ground. If walking, he should make an effort to observe the changing sensation at each moment on the sole of the moving foot. While lying down, attention should be directed to the sensation of the places where the body touches the mat. This concentration must be continuous, as much as possible, in all postures, in the present moment. We must be attentive to all sensations that manifest in us through the 6 doors of the senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and the base of mental senses. Whenever there is contact through any of these 6 doors with any object, we experience a sensation. Watch carefully this subtle sensation that arises from the mind. Do not let mindfulness stray from the sensation. Now, all the sense doors will become part of the meditation. At first, sounds will be heard normally. Then they will be perceived as sensations in the eardrum. Finally, with strong concentration and mindfulness, sounds will be noticed as bodily sensations, as sensations that arise and cease at the base of the heart. In an even more subtle way, the other senses will be drawn into the meditation. Eventually, taste, smell, and sight will be perceived as changing sensations, first in the organ of perception and then at the base of the heart. Focusing on the sensation, as the senses arise at all the sense doors, is the key to practice. This will lead to the end of attachment and liberation. The meditator must focus on perceiving how the sensation arises and how the mental consciousness perceives all things. Through continuous and accurate awareness of sensations, we will perceive impermanence in all movements. We will see how the body arises and ceases at every moment. When we recognize the body as impermanent, feelings will also be seen as impermanent. And we will be able to recognize how thought changes at every moment. Thought arises but passes quickly. Memories and plans will also pass. Expanding this insight, the meditator will realize that all factors of the mind are impermanent. With each moment of clear attention, you will see the process of arising and passing away of experience. As the strength of mindfulness in the present moment clearly penetrates the sensation of being, we will recognize the inner mind. When the inner mind is seen, it is seen as a cluster of many impermanent things. Then, the sense of solidity, or of a self, is broken, and the feeling of the emptiness of self is established. This destroys the myth of individuality. And thus, the other characteristics of existence become equally clear. The practitioner should aim to closely observe all the factors of the mind arising and ceasing, as continuously as possible. This is very difficult for the average person. Therefore, they do not see the truth in themselves. Only when the meditator has sufficient concentration and mindfulness will the true characteristics of the inner body be revealed. We are solely formed by the 5 aggregates. They are form, sensation, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. The five aggregates constitute what we conventionally call men and women. By contemplating the feeling that arises from mental contact, we will directly understand the five aggregates and see how they are always arising and ceasing. Then, the statement, "all aggregates are impermanent," will become clear to the meditator. They will see that all composed things are impermanent, whether they are internal or external, animated or inanimate, visible or invisible. When this is seen and understood, the meditator will destroy the need for attachment. They will then experience the noble path that destroys impurities and the illusion of self. Ultimately, the meditator will realize how all five aggregates arise and cease at every moment. This direct experience of the flow of aggregates is the truth of the Buddha. When the mind is sufficiently purified, concentrated, and balanced, the meditator will perceive the entire world, all six senses, as a sensation at the base of the heart. Then, the whole world will be seen as varied and impermanent vibrations. This is the natural result of the development of proper meditation. Finally, the meditator will experience the peace beyond birth and death, nirvana. It is very important that we take advantage of the opportunity we have in this life to practice. There is only one way to end suffering. We must practice. To develop this practice, we only need faith and seriousness. Unhappiness is created whenever you are misaligned with the present moment. All negativity is caused by an accumulation of psychological time and the denial of the present. Discomfort, anxiety, tension, stress, and worry, all forms of fear, are caused by too much future and not enough presence. Guilt, regret, resentment, grievances, sadness, bitterness, and all forms of non-forgiveness are caused by too much past and not enough presence. Concentrating your attention on the now is not denying what is necessary in your life but recognizing what is priority. See what is priority and make the now your friend, not your enemy. Acknowledge this moment, respect this moment. When the now is the foundation and the main focus of your life, it flows with ease. So, do not resist the present moment. Break the old pattern of denial and resistance to the present moment. Make it a practice to stop concentrating your attention on the past and the future whenever they are not necessary. In everyday life, step out of the temporal dimension as much as possible. If you find it difficult to enter the now directly, start by observing the habitual tendency of the mind to want to escape the now. You will see that the future is generally imagined as better or worse than the present. If the imagined future is better, it gives you hope. If it is worse, it creates anxiety. In both circumstances, it is an illusion. If you are not living this moment, you are not really living. The now is the only place where life can be found. Feel life in your body. This roots you in the now. At first glance, the present moment seems like just one among countless moments in your life. Each day seems to consist of thousands of moments in which the most diverse events occur. But if you look more deeply, you will discover that there is only one moment. This exact moment, now, is the only thing you can never escape. It is the only constant factor in your life. Whatever happens, no matter how much your life changes, one thing is certain: it is always now. If it is not possible to escape the now, why not embrace it and treat it well? When you become friends with the present moment, when you establish a good relationship with it, you are always comfortable in any situation. But when you are not comfortable in the now, you carry discomfort wherever you go. Now, observe this moment. Try not to project into the future. And do not resist this present moment. Do not seek peace. Do not look for another state other than the current one, otherwise, you will create internal conflict and unconscious resistance. Forgive yourself for not being at peace. The moment you fully accept your non-peace, it transforms into peace. Anything you fully accept will take you there, will take you to peace. That is the miracle of surrender. This present moment is as it is. The now is as it is because it cannot be otherwise. If you can accept this moment as it is, it will give you a glimpse of the inner state that is free from external conditions, the state of true deep peace. As mind and resistance mean the same to us, accepting what happens instantly frees us from the domination of the mind and re-establishes our connection with being. As a result, the usual ego motivations to act, such as fear, greed, control, defense, or feeding the false sense of ego, will no longer work. When we fully accept the moment, when we do not oppose what is, the compulsion to think loosens, being replaced by an awakened serenity. We find ourselves fully aware, yet the mind is not labeling the moment. This state of inner non-resistance opens the doors to unconditioned consciousness, which is infinitely greater than the human mind. This vast intelligence can then express itself through us and help us, both internally and externally. Thus, when we abandon inner resistance, we often discover that circumstances change for the better. A much greater intelligence than the mind takes over everything, and with that, a different quality of consciousness influences our actions. When you say yes to things as they are, you enter into harmony with the power and intelligence of life itself. Only then can you become an agent of positive change in the world. When you start to pay attention to the now, a state of alertness is created. It is as if you are waking up from a dream, the dream of thought, the dream of the past and the future. It is so clear and so simple. There is no room left to create problems. There is only this moment, just as it is.